Welcome to NintendPals Podcast.
Hello once again, and welcome to episode 4 of NintendPals. I'm Myles, I'm one of your hosts, and with me as always is my good friend Nick.
Hey, how you doing? You sound a bit down there. You alright?
I don't know. It didn't mean to come across as down. I was just trying a new vibe.
Oh, you've been like Amiibo hunting and felt depressed.
Yeah, looking at Shulks online. I was so desperate to get a Shulk, but I can't find him anywhere. Well, I can find him, but only if I'm willing to pay silly money for it. But,
well, I thought I found it cheap enough earlier, and then Patrick on the Facebook group pointed out that they were Japanese ones. Now, I never even looked into this, but are they region locked?
I didn't think they were, because I've heard rumours of Americans getting ones from Europe, because apparently there's ones that we get better stock of than they do, but maybe Japan's got their own sort of region lock on it. I don't know. I've never come across that before.
No, you're right, and we've also got like Amiibos before they have as well, which is pretty weird. But anyway, we're starting off on the Amiibo foot there.
You're talking about Amiibos every week.
Yeah, every single week.
But yeah, you all good? How's it going?
Yeah, not bad. Made lots of purchases this week, so I've actually got lots of stuff to talk about this week. A couple of things that I bought that I won't talk about, I'll save for next week. But yeah, I've got loads and loads of stuff to talk about. Got some good news, so yeah, we're looking forward to a good episode.
Cool. I'm actually really excited to listen to you talk about what you brought, because people who are on the Facebook group will know anyway. But you brought some really cool stuff this week, so that should be good. But anyway, we'll move straight on. We'll jump straight into the news.
Sony and Microsoft are working with Nintendo.
Indie games coming to Wii U and 3DS.
List of compatible Amiibo released for Mario Party 10.
The first Amiibo Smash Bros. Tournament.
And which Amiibo is getting another run.
And Pokemon Shuffle passcodes.
So we'll start with the first story, which is Microsoft, Sony and Nintendo are working together against DDoS attacks. For anybody that doesn't know what a DDoS attack is, it's called a distributed denial of service. So essentially how it works is hackers or whatever they want to call themselves will basically ship a load of traffic into a certain place, into a certain server. And what happens is the server then, for example, PlayStation Network, can't deal with the demand and it causes them to shut down. So, for example, if you remember back to Christmas, where everyone was complaining about Xbox One and PlayStation internet services being down, that was because of one of these DDoS attacks. What's quite interesting is that Microsoft's Xbox boss, Phil Spencer, has said that all three of the companies are currently sharing their knowledge and experience to help each other tighten their online security. So, to quote what he says, "I don't think it's great when PSN goes down. It doesn't help me. All it does is put the fear and distrust for any gamer out there. So I look at all of us together as this is our collective opportunity to share what we know about, and how we can grow. Those conversations happen, which I think is great. What's probably interesting to note is, from what I know, I don't think Nintendo have ever been affected by this type of attack. But obviously they are keen to share what they know. I think he raises a good point. I think any type of attack is gonna, if you're a PlayStation gamer, it's gonna make you think badly of Xbox and Nintendo and kind of vice versa all round. So I think it makes sense for them all to get together and to try and stop any of these types of attacks going forward.
Yeah, definitely agree. It's really cool that all three companies are just openly working together to put a stop to it as well. That's a really nice thing to hear in sort of this industry where it is such cutthroat competition. It's nice to see that they are doing that just to try and get these hackers or whoever they are, sort of put them down, put them out of business. So it's really cool to see. But I think you're right. I don't think Nintendo have ever suffered one of these DDoS attacks. Not to my knowledge, anyway. But I suppose it's because the online's so insignificant compared to the other two guys. I suppose it's not necessarily what you'd call a big target.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, as you say, it's good to hear they're all working together. If they can cut this kind of stuff out, that's good. I still really don't understand why people even bother doing this type of stuff. I know at the time they were trying to say it was around that film, The Interview being released, which obviously Sony were a part of, and people saying like South Korea were getting involved in all this kind of weird stuff. So yeah, let's just hope it stops, and the three companies talking together is a good thing from this perspective.
Yeah. Cool. Well, next headline, indie games on their way. March 4th, so it's a few days ago now, so a few people might have seen this. Nintendo announced an extensive list of indie games that are coming to both Wii U and the 3DS shops over the course of this year. They already started to kick this off with Oli Oli coming out this Thursday, just gone, but the list is really, really big. There's a lot of games on there, and there's a few big, I suppose you call them big indie game releases on there as well. You've got Octodad's going to be coming out this summer on the Wii U, and if you haven't played that game before, that's really, really fun. Weird game. Mutant Mudds is finally coming to the Wii U as well. Like I said, Oli Oli's out, but if you go to our website, there's a full list of everything that they've announced. But really, really cool to see that Nintendo, they seem to have got a really good relationship with the indie scene now. And they seem to be getting more and more of these indie games, which I love because I really like indie games. I was actually playing the Nintendo podcast, but I was playing Hotline Miami 2, which came out, which is one of my favourite indie games. But yeah, so we got a big year really of indie games to look forward to, and hopefully it'll continue.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to see companies willing to port their stuff over Nintendo. You know, we always talk about the lack of third-party support that we see from companies like Activision and, to a lesser extent, Ubisoft, but you know, EA, for example, is probably the best one for Nintendo. So it's good to see that indie developers are wanting to work with Nintendo to bring their stuff over to their system, because obviously there's a demand for it. You know, the base is big enough for them to make sales, so it definitely makes sense for them to think about porting over to Nintendo. I guess the biggest problem we always see is that generally stuff will get released on Steam or PSN first, and then it kind of takes 6, 12, 18 months for us to finally get it on Nintendo systems. But better late than never. For example, I've never played Octodad. It looks really awesome. I've never played it, so I'll definitely pick it up when it comes over. Yeah,
it's absolutely fantastic game. I haven't played much of it. I have actually got it on Steam, but I haven't played much of it because I'm not a massive fan of playing games on my laptop, but it's really cool. But yeah, you're right, they do need to try and work on getting games a little bit quicker to us, because like, if you think about things like Oli Oli, that came out I think summer of last year on the PlayStation platform, and the same day that that Oli Oli came out on the eShop, the next day Oli Oli 2 came out, so we're literally an iteration behind. I mean, it's a great game either way, and I'm sure we'll get to, but it's nice to see Nintendo be a bit more proactive in getting these games over a bit sooner, rather than sort of waiting.
And I mean, you can imagine as well that you think about the typical type of indie developer. You'd imagine they were between the ages of generally, I don't know, late 20s to late 30s. Yeah. So that kind of generation of people, you would imagine that most of them started out on a Nintendo console. So I think that's good, because it's going to maybe prompt them a little bit more to try and help out Nintendo. And obviously the real bonus of making something for the Wii U, for example, and also for the 3DS, obviously, is that you can use touchscreen stuff, which I know that a lot of indie developers like to use the Vita, because they've got the ability to do something a little bit different. Yeah. I think it's a real positive step forward, and the more indie games we get, the better, really.
Absolutely. Yeah. The next piece.
Cool. So found out earlier today a confirmed list of Amiibo for Mario Party 10. Some images appeared this week from various sources. So usually what happens between kind of a week and 4 weeks, maybe sometimes longer, before a game comes out, is obviously that journalists and websites and all that kind of stuff are sent kind of these pre-release versions of games, but generally they have like an embargo on it, so there might be, you can't talk about the story, you can't talk about the multiplayer, blah blah blah. But it turns out weirdly that there wasn't an embargo over the Amiibo part of Mario Party 10, so some people just started uploading some screenshots and stuff. So it looks like Mario, Luigi, Peach, Toad, Yoshi, Wario, Rosalina, Donkey Kong and Bowser are all supported at this time anyway.
It's all basically all Nintendo, like Mario. People who've appeared in the Mario universe, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, notably, there wasn't a Toadette. There's no Daisy, no Waluigi, Spike. They're not supported, even though they are actually kind of playable characters within the game. So that's not to say that down the line they won't be made into Amiibo. But yeah, that's just kind of confirming what's ready to go from the start. The only thing really to note, I guess, is that I would say it's probably the most aggressive use of Amiibo in a game. So Amiibo Party Mode, which is one of the main modes of the game, actually requires you to have at least one Amiibo to even unlock the mode itself.
Oh wow!
So for supported Amiibo, you can scan them in once per day, and you can unlock like extra bits and bobs. So kind of like a costume or something like that. Weirdly though, it's not just the Mario Party specific stuff. So for example, if you've got I know you haven't got a Shulk, but if you had a Shulk, just to rub salt into the wound, or Wii Fit Trainer or whatever, you could actually scan those guys as well, and you still get extra stuff from it. Basically, you play like this kind of like a scratch card type thing, which earns you Mario points, which is like the currency of the game. So yeah, it's good. They're starting to integrate a lot more Amiibo into it. You've got to kind of ask yourself how much further are they going to go. Having a mode that will not open until you scan an Amiibo seems pretty harsh to me.
Yeah, I think if they're going to do that, which is fine if they want to do that, but I think that they need to make it a thing where they bundle in, I don't know, a Mario.
Yeah, definitely. Every single game, definitely.
Because it's just not fair on people to expect them to have to buy something extra. But I've actually got a problem with these Super Mario Amiibos, and I don't think I'm going to probably buy any because of it. And it's a really sad reason. But I don't know if you've seen pictures of them in comparison to the Smash Bros ones, but they're actually bigger than the Smash Bros ones.
That's weird.
Yeah, they're like they're probably like an inch bigger. And if I had one of those on my shelf, it would just really, really upset me. It would look so weird.
I wonder why they've done that. That's really odd, isn't it? I mean,
yeah.
I remember when I saw them first. The thing that stuck out to me is that they all look really boring. Like the thing I liked about the Smash Bros ones, they're all in like pretty cool. But apart from Luigi, it looks like he's like lying down or shot out of a cannon. I don't know if that's the type of thing they're going for, but they all look really boring. And I was thinking at the time, is that because they're trying to keep like costs down? Because I don't know. You'd imagine that the wackier the pose, maybe it's more plastic or whatever the case may be. I thought maybe that was the case. It seems a bit odd that they're actually adding more to it. Like what's that extra inch of figure going to actually give you? A bit strange.
Yeah, apart from for people like me, when you look over at your shelf at your Amiibos, you've got one who's just like an inch bigger than the rest, and it just looks gross.
It'd be right for like Mario though. You can like pretend he's been like hit by a Koopa Trooper or something.
Yeah, I suppose. We'll move on. I've got another piece of Amiibo news. Starting on March 14th, Nintendo are going to start hosting a series of Super Smash Bros. Tournaments. This is in toy store locations in Japan. The twist is that they're going to be Amiibo only. So you take along your best Amiibo, and then you duke it out a bit with everyone else's Amiibos, and then if you win a free Amiibo, which I would assume would probably like a gold Mario or something. But that's interesting, I thought. What do you think about that? About people training up a specific Amiibo and taking them along to a tournament to see who the best Amiibo person is? Think it'll catch on?
I think it's a really good idea. I've still to this day never ever, even though I've got an Amiibo, I've never used it in a game to do anything whatsoever. So you're probably better to describe this than me. But so like, if I, for example, were to put my Peach Amiibo into Smash Brothers, I understand that you can level them up. Is there not like a cap on? Is it like level 50 is like the biggest cap?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. I'm pretty sure it's level 50 is the biggest cap they can go up to. But there's a couple of things that make each Amiibo different. Firstly, you know how you can earn gear in the game and you can apply it to characters to make their different stats go up. So you can make their speed go up or their power, etc. go up.
Yep. You
can actually feed your gear to your Amiibo, and obviously if you feed them specific things, it'll unlock specific stats. So that, if you've got a level 50 one, plus that on top, it already kind of differentiates against other people's Amiibos based on what gear you fed them, etc. And then the other thing is that if you fight against your Amiibo a lot, or you use them a lot, they adapt and learn your fighting style and then start to use it themselves. So again, that'll play into this tournament. If you've got someone that like an Amiibo that you've spent 20 hours training up feeding gear and like honing their fighting skills, then it'll make the tournament very, very different between each match. So I really hope that they put some of these fights on YouTube, because I'd really be interested to see how like two really good level 50 Amiibos fight against each other. But it's a really cool idea.
Are they not then? Is the person themselves not playing? So is the Amiibo kind of like playing itself?
Yeah. If
that's cool.
your Amiibo, you don't control. Basically, the way it was sold to me was that they're kind of like a pet, and then you train them up. You feed them the gear, but you never actually play as them. You just sort of edit them and make them into your little guy who fights for you. And then obviously in the game, you can either fight with them in a team, or you can fight against them.
Right. Okay. I mean, the only thing I see that could be a bit of a problem is that, like for example, from a Pokemon perspective, you always get to this max level, and I guess that's the problem, that if there is the ability to get max speed, max health, max power.
But I don't know. I haven't spent enough time feeding gear to my Amiibos. I mainly just make them fight each other and watch.
Right.
But I don't know if say you feed them a certain type of gear, I'm not sure. I think it balances it. So say if you feed them something that's high in speed, it'll deduct some of their power off them. I think that's the way it works.
Yeah, that's good.
I don't think you could ever get to a point where you max out absolutely everything.
Okay.
I think that's the way it works. Which, if it is, then it should be cool, because it should lead to some very different fights.
Yeah, that's good. It's definitely really interesting. As you say, I'm sure they will put it on YouTube or something. So it'd be really cool to see how that works. But maybe I need to have a look at the Amiibo mode a bit better on Smash.
Yeah, it is worth looking at. I mean, it's one of those things where you can kind of just put it on, set your Amiibo to have a fight, and then kind of walk away, or just like sit and watch it, or like watch it while you're on your phone. It is quite fun doing that though. I spent some time with what I've got. I think I've got like 4 of my Amiibos are level 50, and then the rest of them are like in the mid to high 20s.
Cool. All right, my last story. Surprise, surprise! Once again, Amiibo, and that is that they are creating more Marth Amiibo. If you remember back when Amiibo launched, there were 3 characters that are really, really hard to get. So there was Marth, Wii Fit Trainer, and then somebody else. Who was the third person?
Wasn't the Villager?
Villager, yeah, I think you're right. So I think those were the 3 really difficult to get at the start, and they were like going on eBay at £50 plus. Marth ever since then hasn't really been readily available anywhere. Basically, Codename Steam is coming out. I believe, is it the middle of this month?
I think so. It's either this month or next month. I can't remember.
Okay, I haven't got the date down here for some reason, so I'll come back to you by the end of the podcast. But basically, Nintendo have announced that they're making more Marth stock anyway, and it's going to be available around the end of April. The only thing I haven't seen is anything specific from Nintendo Europe, so the tweet actually came out from Nintendo of America, so I really hope that actually affects us over here. The reason why they're doing this is that the game itself is being developed by Intelligent Systems, who are the guys that brought us Fire Emblem. So they've been really clever about how they've done this crossover. So essentially you can unlock 4 playable characters from the Fire Emblem series and put them into the game. So you've got Marth, Lucina, Robin and Ike. So yeah, really interesting. It's cool to see. I know that people that have struggled to get Marth in the past, it's going to be good that they get another chance to get it. As I said, I haven't seen anything specific saying that it's going to happen over here in Europe. But you'd hope that Codenames team will do well enough over here to push Nintendo to get some more stock out to us as well.
Yeah, I really like that's one of my favourite things that they've done with Amiibo is that, because have you played the demo for Codenames Team?
I haven't yet, no.
It's really, really good. I'd definitely recommend it. But it like you say, unlocks the characters to use in the game. But if
is it similar to Fire Emblem? So it's kind of like that Advance Wars tactical type game, is it? Or is
it is, but it's like set as a third person view, and obviously you can switch between the characters and stuff. But it's set as so it's kind of different, because I think Advance Wars and Fire Emblem are top down or isometric, aren't they? Yeah. So that's the big difference. That it's third person, but it's still a tactical game. You have turns, etc. to do what you want to do with it. But I'm really excited because I've got 2 Fire Emblem Amiibos. I'm really excited to use those in that game. But I really, that's one of my favourite things they've done with Amiibo so far. So, be excited to have a go at that when it actually comes out.
Cool. if it's, I love the Fire Emblem series, and as I said, I haven't tried the demo yet, so I'll give that a download. If it's anything like Fire Emblem, that would be awesome.
Yeah, so I've not played Fire Emblem. Even though I looked into getting the 3DS one, but it's like again impossible to get.
Yeah, I had to pay like £40 second hand, I think.
Yeah, that's what I've seen it for, and I thought they're doing a new one this year or early next year, so I figure I might as well just wait.
Yeah.
Now. But anyway, my last piece of news is a very, very quick one. Pokemon Shuffle news. They've released the first passcode for the game, which, if you haven't seen this yet, there's a section in the main menu called passcodes, and when you click on it, obviously you have to type in a series of numbers. They've released the first one. It's kind of a small little update. It gives you a couple of Mega Star power-ups, which allow you, if you've got some gems that allow you to have Mega Evolutions for certain Pokemon, it allows you to start the level with them, which is quite a decent power-up to have. And if you put this code in, it gives you 2 of those for free. I thought that's quite intriguing. I'm interested to see where they go with this. It'll be interesting to see if they do similar things like they do in the main Pokemon games, where they give out free rare Pokemon like they did end of last year. But I just thought that was worth mentioning. I was going to the code, if for anyone who wants it, is 20150007. So you can unlock that. But do you think they'll do much with this passcode thing, or do you think it'll just be little bits like this?
It's a good idea. Obviously, it keeps people coming back, doesn't it? If they're releasing a new character every 2, 4, 6, 8 weeks, whatever it might be. Doing the 2 times table for you there. That's was kicking off with some times table. Yeah, so it's good for them because obviously it keeps people interested in Pokemon Shuffle. I presume they're gonna start at like level 1 the Pokemon. So I know like when on X and Y and in Aurus at the minute, when you get given like the Darkrai, for example, code that I had, I'm sure I could have been like level 70 or something. So that was always a problem to me. Like, I'd always prefer it to be everything start at level 5, so you don't really gain some kind of unfair advantage by getting these passcodes. So that's all I would hope, that they start at the bottom. So it's just cool that you've got the a Mew or something like that. It just looks good, but you still need to spend time to kind of level it up.
Does the level up make a massive difference on Pokemon Shuffle?
Yeah, I think so. I think like. From what I understand, it unlocks more abilities and stuff. I don't think I've got anyone past level like 3 yet, but from what I understand, you get additional abilities depending on the higher the level they are.
Excellent. Cool. Well, that's all my news. Have you got a list of release dates this week?
Yeah, I've got loads of stuff for you this week.
Cool.
Right, I'll start with 3DS. So 3DS eShop download. The first title is Shanghai Mahjong. Available for £7.19. Very specific.
Let me get my pre-order in now.
Yeah, obviously over in Japan they love a bit of mahjong. It's never really caught on over here. I mean, we've had enough mahjong games released in the past, but I don't ever remember any of them being that popular. Have you ever played mahjong? I've never even tried it. Looks like a cross between dominoes and solitaire or something.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. To be fair, that's like pretty bang on to what it is. I think I've played like a free app of it on like my phone or my tablet, but for like 5 minutes before realising it's really, really boring.
Yeah,
but Dominoes mixed with solitaire is probably the best description I could think of for it. Okay,
but if you are interested, it's got 5 mahjong modes. It's also got a time attack mode on it as well, which might be good. It's worth noting the physical releases come in the 18th of April, whereas obviously this is releasing this Thursday. We've then got Outrun 3D. So this is the latest 3D remaster by Sega. They've actually done a whole heap by now, and I'll talk about those a little bit in a second, but this is the newest one to come over to the console. New tracks being added, and also a smoother frame rate too, so that's available for just £4.49. Over on the Wii U eShop, first title is a game called The Fall, which is available for £6.99. Talking about indie games earlier, this is a prime example of a game that's been available for quite a while back on Steam and some other different operating systems. Essentially, it's like an atmospheric side-scrolling shoot 'em up with some puzzle elements. So everything's very dark, very dingy, but then also like your guns and your power-ups and stuff are very bright neon colours, but it has a really interesting story to it, so I won't go into it too much because I'm sure it's going to spoil some people's fun, but From what I've read, and I know we were talking earlier, Myles, you said you really like the look of this as well. It looks really, really interesting.
Yeah, I'm really tempted. There's 2 games I really want this week, and one of them's down, one of them's outrun, and I don't know which one to go for. It's a tough decision.
But it's got really, really good reviews from when it was on Steam, looking at it today, and I would say for $6.99 I think it's definitely worth giving it a go. It's something a little bit different for the Wii U to get as well. We've also got Metroid Zero Mission, which is a Game Boy Advance release. This is £6.29. This one is based on the original Metroid game, which came out on the NES, but kind of in true Nintendo fashion, when they do these kind of remasters, they add so much more to it. So extra levels, much more detail, different types of enemies, that kind of stuff. So it's based very loosely on the original, but a similar enough story. For anybody that's not played a Metroid game before, I would actually say this is a really, really good place to start. So I played a lot of this back on the Game Boy Advance, and this was probably the second one I played, I think, after Super Metroid. Really steep learning curve kind of through the middle, but actually it starts off easy enough, and it's kind of, again, one of those side-scrolling 2D platform action shoot 'em up type thing. But yeah, so if you wanted to jump into the world of Metroid and you haven't played before, and maybe you didn't want to go to the stuff like Metroid Other M, which is kind of the more of the first-person shooter type stuff, if you want a more traditional Metroid game, this is definitely the place to start. 2 more. So we've got My Style Studio Notebook. This is available for the bargain price of £2.69, and the reason why it's £2.69 is because it's useless. It is. It is. They don't describe it as useless. That's me. It's basically a virtual notepad on your gamepad. You can make flick books as well. That's about the best thing that I could find about it. So if you ever thought, oh, do you know what, I'd be really good to draw a stick man right about now in between this game, you can pick up My Style Studio Notebook.
Isn't this game pointless though? Because aren't they giving away, I forget what it's called, but they're giving away that free app or game or whatever it is when they do their new version of Club Nintendo in a few months' time.
Yeah, so apparently as well there are other apps available that do pretty much this. I don't know whether they're free or you have to pay, but it seems a really odd one for them to release. But £2.69, maybe if you've bought a £15 e-credit voucher and you've got £3 left, this might be maybe something you might want to pick up. You can also share your creations with Amiiverse, which I guess is quite cool, but also maybe a little bit scary for like moderation. Anybody could draw or write anything. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. And then the last one, thankfully, Nintendo have been listening to my moans and groans. They are bringing out Punch-Out, the Wii version, over to the Wii U. It's going to be $17.99. So this is the second game that they've released, Wii title, that hasn't been half price. So I guess we've seen the end of that promotion. So the Metroid trilogy, and what else did we have? Mario Galaxy 2
Mario Galaxy,
and Donkey Kong. I think they're all like $7.99 or $8.99 for the first week. But Kirby was $17.99 a couple of weeks ago, and this is now $17.99, so I think that's probably the standard we're going to pay. I'm sure people have played Punch-Out by now. It's very true to the NES and the SNES versions, which has got me wanting to play it. The only thing, and this is now going to become a problem, I think, because apart from Metroid Trilogy, most Wii games can be found at a fairly decent price for a physical copy. I was looking online earlier, and like a really quick search, I can find Punch-Out for like £5 for a physical copy. And this is where I don't get kind of virtual console stuff or PSN or any kind of stuff. PlayStation are really bad for it. They'll charge like $49.99 for like a Call of Duty game that's been out for 2 years that you can pick up for like £2. And I think they really need to think about this. Punch-Out is pretty readily available. It's sold well on the Wii. There are plenty of copies around. And me personally, I'd always rather have a physical copy of something. So as much as I was thinking about getting this, I just can't justify spending an extra £13 for something when they haven't even added, gamepad stuff. It's effectively like you would be running the Wii disc. So that's annoying. But yeah, $17.99 will get you that this week. And then
I think you're right. If they added to any of these games gamepad support, $17.99 would be a great price, and I would pay it. But like I say, when you can get most of these games so cheap, they really need to have a look at how much you can buy these things for on eBay before they release a price on them, and maybe price them a little bit individual rather than just going it's 18 quid per game.
Yeah, I guess it's just going to be interesting to see how these sell. I can imagine that as I said, the first stuff that came out at $8.99, they were kind of AAA titles. As I said, there was stuff that weren't that readily available. Mario Galaxy 2 can be had for maybe £10 or £12 for a physical copy, but you don't mind paying a little bit extra if you can get it at that $8.99 starting price. But now they've released a game that's readily available at £18. I don't see it doing that well, but time will tell. Time will tell what they do with that. And then very, very quickly, there are a lot of nice little discounts going live this week, or that have been live for the last week. So I've just highlighted a couple. On the 3DS, Mighty Switch Force and Mighty Switch Force 2.
Good games.
Yeah, really, really good games. I've only played the first one, so I'm presuming 2 is just as good.
I think I've got 2. I think that's one I've got. It's a really fun game, though.
Yeah, they're both like proper cheap. So Mighty Switch Force 2 is £1.25, reduced from £5, and Mighty Switch Force 1 is £1.34, reduced from £5.39. So absolute bargains. £2.50 for 2 really good games there. All the previous released 3D Sega titles, remasters, are going down. So currently we've got Altered Beast, Echo the Dolphin, Galaxy Force 2, Streets of Rage, Shinobi 3, Super Hang-On, and Space Harrier. So they're all these 3D remasters, kind of like they're doing with Outrun this week. They were £5.49, but they're now all £2.24 each. So if you've got maybe a title that you played back on the Mega Drive or Genesis, depending on where you're listening to in the world, stuff like, for example, I love Echo the Dolphin, I love Streets of Rage. £2.24 for those is a good price.
Yeah, Streets of Rage is very tempting at £2.24. Very, very tempting.
The only thing is, right, I haven't played any of these, and I haven't read too much about them. I wonder whether they are. I'm sure they must be 2DS compatible, but obviously the big thing about them is that they're 3D remasters.
I'm pretty sure they are. I've got, which one have I got? The Afterburn, I think it's called, the one where we fly plane.
Yeah.
And I bought that when I had my 2DS, and it works perfectly.
Okay, cool. I thought they might do. Cool. And then a couple of Phoenix Wright games are going down in price. So Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Dual Destinies is going down to £11.19, and Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Trilogy is going down to £18.74. You ever played any Phoenix Wright games?
I think I played like the first ever one, and I was really bad at it.
On the DS?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was. You have to have patience and be able to work difficult things out to play those games, and I have neither of those, so kind of left them alone. And I'm pretty sure though that the trilogy, at least it was, I don't know if it still is free on iOS. So if it is and it's £8 on Nintendo, that's not very good.
£18 on Nintendo is even worse.
£18.
Yeah, £18.74. And then lastly, Wii U eShop temporary discounts. Mighty Switch Force again, the Hyperdrive edition for Wii U is going down to a bargain price of £2.24, reduced from $8.99. And Mighty Switch Force 2 is going down to £1.25 on the Wii U eShop as well. And then also Shantae, however you pronounce it, and the Pirate's Curse is going down from $15.99 to $11.99. And that's a fairly new release, so it's quite good to see them drop price on that.
It's a pretty good game as well. I brought that. I've got the 3DS version, and it's actually a really fun game, so I'd recommend it for that price. Yeah,
it's also discounted on the 3DS as well, down to the same price too. So lots of cool stuff being released, lots of cool little discounts. I'm sure if you've got some eShop credit knocking around, there's definitely some stuff for you to take this week.
Okay, so we'll talk about what we've played this week. I'm going to go first because I know Nick's is going to be far more interesting than mine. So I'll kick off with 3DS this week. I brought Ollie Ollie last week. My £15 eShop voucher that I couldn't work out whether to buy Ironfall or NES Remix. I ended up getting neither of those.
Yeah. And you got a game you already own.
Yeah. Yeah, so I got Ollie Ollie. I don't own any PlayStation consoles anymore, so but I had it when I had a Vita, and I really, really liked that game. So and it's the first cross-buy game that we've got in Europe as well. So I really want to buy the first cross-buy game for Nintendo because I'm that kind of person. So
how much was it? I saw
that.
it was going to have a bit of discount for the first week.
Yeah, it was. I can't remember now. I think it was about £8.
Okay,
something like that.
And how does the cross-buy work? Do they send you like a voucher code?
No, it's actually really clever. All you do is you buy it on whichever console you want to buy it on first. So I think I bought it on the 3DS first, and then when you go to the shop on the corresponding console, so the Wii U console, it just says re-download, and so you just download it and then that's it. So really, really painless. I have heard rumours though that Mario vs Donkey Kong Tipping Stars, which came out in America last week, we've got to wait a couple more weeks for it, which is also cross-buy. Apparently Nintendo send you a download code for the other version of the game.
Yeah,
and buy
I
it.
heard that.
Yeah, which is a little bit. I mean, it's fine. It still works, but it's kind of like you're making you do work that you shouldn't really have to do. And I thought it was quite shocking that an indie developer are able to, make it buy once and that's it. And whereas Nintendo can't do it on their own platform. So we'll see where that goes and see what happens when.
Do your systems have to be linked then? I guess.
Yeah, they both need to be linked to your one account, so I think it's called your Nintendo ID or something like that.
Yeah.
So they both need to be linked to that, and then, like I say, you just go to the shop when you've paid for it, and you can just re-download it as many times as you want for the console. But Ollie Ollie is a great game. It's a tough game. If anyone out there wants a challenging, at the end of the day, it's a 2D platformer. But if you want one of those, it's a really good game. It's one of those where you just keep on trying again until you get it right. It's got a great restart on it. If you mess up, you press restart and it's like less than a second and you're back in the game. But really, really good fun. So I'm having a lot of fun with that in a minute.
So
I also
how do like the tricks work? 'Cause I think that was one of the biggest points, wasn't it? There's like over 100 tricks or something. So is there like different button combinations to do different types of tricks?
It's dead simple. All you have to do the basic move is say just to do an ollie. So you just hold the down button on either the D-pad or the analog stick, and then when you want to jump, you let go, and he does an ollie. And then to do the different tricks, you just have to do sort of different configurations of that. So to do a kick flip, I think is sort of hold down and then sort of go diagonal to the right, and he'll do a kick flip. And then you can also put modifiers on there by holding, I think, the left shoulder button, and you can do grinds as well. And then you have to try and stick the landing. So when you board touches the ground, you have to press the B button to stick the landing, otherwise you get a lower score. It's really good. It's very, very simple, but it's one of those where it's easy to learn, difficult to master. And for like completionists and stuff like that, it's one of those where it will just keep you going for hours and hours. Also brought with my eShop voucher Trine 2, because I wanted some 2-player to play with my wife. So we haven't played masses of that. We've probably only played about 40 minutes so far. But really, really fun game for anyone looking to play like a good co-op game with a partner. It's got a good learning curve on it. It's similar, for anyone who doesn't know, to, do you remember Lost Vikings?
Yeah, I love it. That's why I wanted to get this game, because somebody told me it was like that. And it's
Yeah,
up to
very-
4-player as well, isn't it? I think local.
3-player.
Sorry.
3-player local co-op. There's 3 characters, so you can play 3-player local co-op, or if you play with 2 people, then you just switch between the extra character. But yeah, it's very, very similar to Lost Vikings in that it's all about solving puzzles and navigating the environment. There are some fighting and stuff like that to do against enemies, but it really is mainly about working together. But really, really fun game. Like I say, to play with a partner, or like for yourself to play with your kids, it's definitely one I'd recommend. What else have I played? Still playing Monster Hunter. I actually played some online Monster Hunter with some friends this week, which is the first time I've done that. A couple of guys I work with have both got the game, so we hooked up on Monday night, I think it was, and spent a couple of hours just doing some quests. And I think I said last week that I'd played the online, but I wasn't necessarily super sold on it. But playing online with friends who you can kind of communicate to a bit better, it just kind of changes the whole game and makes it so much more fun to play. The one drawback of it is that it hasn't got good comms. We were kind of talking to each other through text, so we got like a text group on WhatsApp, and we were talking to each other through that because the keyboard's very unintuitive to use. There are some like preset phrases you can say, like "let's go" or "come over here," etc. But if they'd have added some kind of voice chat on there, which I'd have thought would be doable because the 3DS has got a mic, that would have made it that much better. But I mean, you could hook up on Skype and stuff and record. But definitely worth playing if you've got Monster Hunter and you've got the opportunity to play online with some people you know. Well worth doing.
I wonder why they haven't done that. Like that. It's not one of those games that I'm sure there's some times where you can kind of catch on with what everyone else is doing. Follow the 3 people that are running towards that massive rock man or whatever. But you would have thought there would have been like really good communications on it, or at least, like you say, like a headset option or something. Because not everybody's going to have the benefit of like you, where you know the people you're playing with. If you just joined a random room, you've got to just kind of hope other people know what they're doing. And yeah, it's a bit of a strange one, especially for that type of game that does involve an element of strategy to it.
Yeah, you tend to find when you play with random people online, you kind of just follow the person who seems to know what they're doing the most, and just hope that everyone kind of does the same thing. It is a bit strange why they didn't. A game that like this is so strategical, especially when you start fighting some of the really hard bosses, because there's a lot of things you can do strategy-wise, like you can set traps, etc., and you can all choose different weapons. We were fighting. I had a heavy weapon. One of the guys had a light weapon, and then another guy had a medium weapon, and it kind of worked really well. But say if you're playing with random people, it is so difficult. I know they had voice chat on Monster Hunter 3, or at least I've been told they did. So the infrastructure was obviously there to do it. Obviously we're able to translate over to 3DS, but it does seem strange. It's a shame, but it's one of those things. Like I said, there's ways around it. So we talked through text, and it seemed to work pretty well. We could talk on Skype. Other than that, I played some more Batman Arkham Origins, which I'm really enjoying that. I actually think it's much better than Arkham City. The story, even though the gameplay is very, very similar, it's like basically not moved on at all. The story itself feels like it's much, much better written. It makes more sense. You kind of care about what's happening a lot more. The baddies make sense to why they're there. My big problem with City was that they were just random villains for no reason, whereas there's a reason for everyone to be there. But that's really good. And lastly, we played some Mario Kart 8 together.
We did? Oh yeah, forgot about that. We did.
Yeah, so we played Mario Kart 8. Was it Sunday night, I think?
Yeah,
feels like it's Sunday night.
Maybe Saturday. Maybe it was Saturday.
Could have been Saturday.
Whatever day it was.
Yeah, but that was really fun. I love playing Mario Kart 8 again with people I know. I'm not a massive fan of playing it online because I tend to just lose. But yeah, that was really fun playing together.
It was 1-1, wasn't it? I think in the end.
Yeah, we played 2 cups. I won the first one, and then the second one you won. But the second one I put weapons on frantic, and I don't think I got above 5th place at any race because I just kept on getting bombarded by stuff.
That's the problem really when you get sucked into like that middle of the group. Everyone's just smashing each other with green shells. Like the computer seemed to be absolutely deadly with a green shell on that game when you play online.
Yeah.
So yeah, the trick is get into first as quick as you can and hope and pray that no blue shell's going to find you.
Yeah, definitely.
Good game.
We did have a bit of problem with connection as well, which I just wanted to
it was weird
briefly. Because you set up a room for me to join, but it would not let me join it, which was really strange. It kept on saying there was a problem on my network, and I think we must have tried it like 3 or 4 times before I tried to create a room, and then you joined it no problem. But that was really strange.
I thought at the time like maybe it's because you didn't have the DLC. And like when you can select whether you just want the standard tracks or whether you wanted to have the added stuff, I thought, maybe I've got the DLC. But obviously you did because we were playing Hyrule and F-Zero levels and stuff. So just a really odd one. Don't know what that was about.
Yeah, it was really strange, but that was really enjoyable. We'll have to make sure we do a bit more of that.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll have to get our wives involved if we can as well, and do some 4-player racing.
Yeah. Leave them behind in the middle, let them fight it out with some green shells.
Definitely. That's pretty much everything I've played. So, what have you been playing?
I bought a Nintendo 64 this week. I finally found a nice ice blue one, which I've been looking for a while. So I already had like my standard black one, which was really old and tired and looked horrible. And I came across a really well priced ice blue one. So for those who don't know, Nintendo released a load of different colours when the N64 came out. So you had obviously the original black version, and then you had a Pikachu version that came out around the release of Pokemon Stadium, I think. And Pokemon Snap came out at a similar time. And then you had some of these see-through type consoles with like a particular tint to it. So there was an ice blue, there was a purple, there was like a smoke grey colour, and a couple more. So I think there's kind of 7 in total from power release perspective. So yeah, so I got one of those. Got a few games of it. So I got WWF No Mercy.
Best wrestling game ever.
Definitely, 100%. WWF WrestleMania 2000.
Second best wrestling game ever.
And then I got the third best wrestling game ever, WCW vs NWO Revenge. Which is a great game. So these are all THQ releases. And you know, the really surprising thing is they actually hold up really, really well. The funniest thing though was playing WrestleMania 2000, because obviously for those who don't know, those who haven't had an N64, is that they all save to the cartridge. So putting in WrestleMania 2000, looking at like the previous guys' created characters was absolutely hilarious. Like you put them into like different stables and stuff. So you made like DX, and he'd put like Vince McMahon in DX and all this kind of stuff. So that was quite cool. And I couldn't find a reset function either. So like they're all in really odd stables.
So you've just got this guy's created character as well?
Yeah, and then just like nobody like hilarious, was a shame. He did like one called like the Crusher, like some generic guy. He was like 9 foot tall and like 7,000 pounds.
You're gonna have to put him on the Facebook group so I can see.
Yeah, well, I'll take a picture. And actually, speaking of that, I played No Mercy, and I thought I've got to go back and create a character. I remember spending ages creating characters. And around the time like the official Nintendo magazine were sending out ways to like make Superman and all that kind of stuff. And I made a Mario and Luigi in the style of Me and You, which was pretty funny. And we had a match against the Rock and Sock Connection, and lost pretty badly, which was a shame. no real surprise. So yeah, so I got those. As I said, it was good to go back and play them, because actually they haven't aged that badly, so they're more than playable for people that want to go back and play any of those again. And then just some more kind of classic stuff. So GoldenEye, you've got to get GoldenEye if you've got an N64.
Yeah, sure.
Mario 64. And Pokemon Stadium I got as well, which I got really for the multiplayer stuff. Have you ever played Pokemon Stadium?
I don't think I have, to be honest. No, I remember looking at it when I owned an N64, but it was really expensive for some reason. I remember it being like £60-70. I'm not quite sure why, but no, I've never played it, I'm afraid.
I think the reason why is because it came with a transfer pack. So the idea was, if you had like Pokemon Red, Blue, Yellow that were released at the time, you can use your characters from those games, put them into the transfer pack, which clips into the back of the N64 pad, where you put a memory card or a rumble pack, and you could transfer your characters onto it with all their moves and all the levels, which at the time was like absolutely amazing, like high-tech stuff. So I think that's why it was a little bit more expensive than kind of the standard releases. But yeah, I remember mine was like $59.99 or something. I think that was quite a good deal at the time. But a really good game. So the idea is where you can kind of battle. It was the first time you could battle your Pokemon in 3D. As I said, you can bring in your squad from your Game Boy version, or you can just use, they've basically got all 150 Pokemon ready to go, and you can just do some random battles against the computer. You can do battles against kind of a second player, and it's got a really cool mini-game set as well, so it's got like 9 different mini-games that you can play, all up to 4 players, so we played some 4-player of that on the weekend, which was cool. So yeah, it's good. So I'm just kind of on the lookout for more N64 stuff now. So I'll keep this bit updated and let you know if I find anything else. But I think I've got kind of the main stuff that I need to get. I can't think of any other N64 titles that at this time that I really need to desperately get, apart from maybe 1080 Snowboard, and I think that was a really good game.
Those are the game. You also need to get. There's a couple I would be looking out for. Ocarina of Time. I bet that's tough to get though.
Yeah, it's like it's about £15 for a cart-only version. Obviously, the biggest problem with N64 games is because they were cardboard boxes, and because kids mostly had them. Like, to find box versions of stuff is generally loads harder, and you'll end up paying like between 2 and 5 times the price of the cart-only version.
There was a Donkey Kong game that came out for the N64 as well, which
Donkey Kong 64 came with the expansion pack, I think, didn't it?
Yeah, that's the one that I would be on the lookout for, that because that was a great game. I remember spending a long time playing that game.
That's hard to find as well. That is pretty difficult, especially kind of completing box. That's like 50-60 quid, I think. For and this is the biggest problem. Like, A lot of Nintendo stuff from that era really hold their price really well. Like Pokemon stuff always holds its value, and Mario stuff generally does as well. So like Mario Kart 64 is still like 25 quid for just a kart only version. Smash Brothers is the same, 25-30 quid for a kart only version. So that's kind of one of the only problems. But it kind of forces you to look at some of the cheaper stuff and play some games that maybe you wouldn't have bought back in the day. So yeah, I'll keep you all updated on that. And then the only other new thing was Zelda Hyrule Warriors. Been looking at the price of that, and finally it dropped to a price where I thought it was good enough to have a go. I really enjoyed Dynasty Warriors stuff back on like PS2 and Xbox. I hadn't played anything since then. And obviously loving Zelda, I thought it would be a really cool mix. And I'm really enjoying it actually. I've done probably an hour and a half of it today. I think I'm on to like the 3rd chapter. It's good how you can unlock characters, it seems, at the end of every single chapter. You can collect power-ups and get new weapons and all that kind of stuff. I'm sure most people have probably played it by now. I think I'm just a bit behind the release schedule, but it's a cool game, and hopefully it's one I'll keep going back to. Apparently it's like absolutely massive as well, so like if you go and do everything, it's like a 50, 60, 70 hour plus game. Yeah. If you want to get all like the sculptures and all that kind of stuff. But I know you've played it before, but it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, content-wise, that game is ridiculous. Obviously, you've got the main adventure mode, which is like the story, and then you've got like these challenge maps, and then I think you've got something else as well. And then if you get all the DLC, then that just keeps on adding. Apparently, the DLC adds to the adventure mode. It adds like extra chapters, and then it adds extra challenge maps as well. Plus, there's extra characters. It's the amount of content they've done is crazy. There is a season pass for the game, which is a really good, again, it's a really good price. But the level cap now is like some silly, like I think 100 or 300. Someone told me, and it's just
ages to level someone up as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've played the whole of the main quest, the adventure mode. I've completed that. And I think my highest character is Link, and he's on like only on level 20 something. So like to get them all the way up to the highest level cap must just take forever and ever. But I've heard, I mean, from listening to different podcasts, and so I've got a friend who's obsessed with it. I know people who, I mean, my friend spent like 20 hours on that game, I think, something silly like that. And I've like heard rumours of people spending like 50 hours on it, but absolutely fantastic game. I actually saw something, I was going to look into it and maybe do it as a piece of news, but I decided not to. But the company behind the game, who like originally did Dynasty Warriors, who basically said it more or less saved the series, doing Hyrule Warriors, because people were so bored with Dynasty Warriors.
They're bringing them out every day, that's why. There was like, Dynasty Warriors 8 comes out, and then they'll have Extreme and Samurai Warriors and Orochi, and like 10 different versions of exactly the same game, and they never do anything more than just add a few different maps. You know, like somebody should tell Koei Tecmo that like DLC exists. You know, just bring out one game, mate, and just release some extra maps. If they can bring out a physical game every time something kicks off, I mean, that's their own fault, really. You know, they need to look into the future a little bit more, don't they? You know, are they part owned by Nintendo or something? But yeah, it's pleasantly surprised. I didn't know what to expect. You know, Dynasty Warriors are always so linear, the games are, but there's so much added stuff from a Zelda perspective that if you
that's what sells it, isn't it?
Yeah, if you just love Zelda, it's worth getting. If you just love Dynasty Warriors, it's worth getting. If you kind of like both, or maybe even if you don't like both and you just want something a bit different, it's definitely worth picking up.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing as well I would say is it's worth, if you can get hold of it, listen to the soundtrack. You can find it on YouTube if you just put Hyrule Warriors OST in. Great soundtrack. It's got all the classic Zelda themes, but they've kind of been added like rock guitar to a lot of them, and a lot of them sound really awesome.
Cool. But yeah, that's it for me. I did get a couple of other bits, but I'm going to leave those for next week because I haven't tried them yet. So I'll let you know how I get on with those next week.
Okay, it's time for the top and bottom 5. This week it's my turn. If this is your first episode, this section we list our top 5 favourite and our bottom 5 least favourite of something to do with Nintendo, whether it be a series of games, console, or whatever. This week I'm going to do my top and bottom 5 favourite Smash Bros characters. It's going to be based on the newest version of the game because it's got the most characters and it's the one I'm most familiar with as well. So I'll start with my bottom 5. So number 5, in at number 5 is Rosalina. I just can't play as Rosalina. I can't do any of her moves. I'm sure there's people out there, this would probably be true of everyone I talk about, but there's probably people out there who think these characters are great, but she's difficult. She's just pointless.
I agree with you on that one. Like, I don't really get what she does. Like,
I think you have to use the little star thing that she wanders around with to do stuff, but I can't make him do stuff.
I agree with you on that one. She'd definitely be in my bottom 5.
Yeah. Number 4 is Princess Peach. Again, I just find all her attacks really, really weak. I find it incredibly easy to beat when I play against her, whether it be against like a human opponent or a computer opponent. But again, she just hasn't got any good moves. Number 3, and I hate to put him in it because he's one of my favourite Nintendo characters, Luigi.
I'm glad you said here, like, getting a bit sexist this bottom 5 list was. All the girls are in my bottom 5.
Yeah. Number 3 is Zero Suit Samus. Number 2 is Zelda. Number 1 is she. But no, Luigi. I love Luigi. He's one of my favourite Nintendo characters. I think he's great. As a little brother, I identify Luigi as I like to play as him. But I don't know what they were thinking when they made him in Smash Bros. But he's more or less useless.
I don't know, I'm not going to spoil you the top one, but for me, Mario's just as bad, in my personal opinion. But yeah, Luigi's definitely worse.
See, I'm really good with Mario. He didn't make either list. He would have been close to in my top, but I'm really, really good with Mario. And there's just a few differences. Like Luigi, I think is a little bit faster and weaker, and he's got one move where I think it's a crossing special where he kind of turns into a missile, and he just tends to fall on the floor. So yeah, number 2 is Olimar from Pikmin. Again, I just can't use him properly because obviously with Olimar you have to throw his Pikmin at your opponent and they kind of do the damage, but I tend to just never have any Pikmin with him. And again, I've seen apparently on the Pro team he's one of the good characters. If the people who use Olimar, they tend to be pretty unbeatable. But
yeah, you really have to like. I started to try and use him, and I was all right using him. And watching a lot of YouTube videos, you're right. Like, it's one of the most used players, but it's definitely one of those that you really have to put a lot of thought into how you do, especially how you utilise the Pikmin. Because what most people do is they'll chuck both of them at the start, and then they're gone, and then he's pretty much useless for the rest of the fight.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just a little man in a spacesuit then.
I think if you put the time in to learn how to play, and probably with Rosalina, as you said earlier, might be really good. But yeah, I think I'd probably have him in and around my bottom 5 as well. It's a shame because I love Pikmin, but
yeah, same here. When I saw that they were going to put a Pikmin guy in there. And he is really cool because you can actually, if you change his costume, you can play as other characters from the Pikmin series, similar to Bowser Jr. Yeah. But it's just I just can't play as the guy. And my number 1, my least favourite Smash Bros character is Jigglypuff. Jigglypuff is just awful. He's got no good attacks. He looks rubbish, and he's just Jigglypuff. Who likes Jigglypuff at the end of the day?
I like Jigglypuff. Puts people to sleep.
I do.
The only thing that's missing is like, you should be able to put people to sleep and then get a marker pen out and start writing on people's faces. That'd be good.
That would be cool.
I can't disagree. He's not very good in this game. One that would make my bottom 5 list is the Duck Hunt duo. Like, I don't know. I just can't really seem to get. I think they're just so weird. Not as weird as like Mr. Game & Watch, but I just can't get my head around the concept of using them. So for me, I think I'd agree with everything. But I'd probably put Duck Hunt duo in there as well.
Yeah, he was close to going in there for me. Again, because he is very similar to Rob and Mr. Game & Watch. Their attacks just seem so crazy and random and difficult to understand that it just makes them hard to use.
See, Rob's good. I like Rob because I think if you press up and one of the attacks, I can't remember which one it is, he like spins around really quick, kind of like those killer discs we talked about in the first episode. And actually, one of them you can actually shoot those killer discs at people as well. So actually, I quite like using Rob, just because I just like spin, especially on like the trophy rush mode thing. You know, if you just stand there in the middle and spin about, you know, you can get loads of trophies really quickly. But yeah, Game and Watch. Maybe that's another one that might have been in mind as well. He's pretty funny, but some of the stuff he does, like throws a fish out of a frying pan at you and stuff, pretty strange.
Yeah, definitely. I think the only reason I didn't put those three in there is because they're so cool in terms of who they are. Like just the fact that they're in the game is cool, so that kind of edged them out for me. I'll move on to my top 5. In at number 5 is Dark Pit. He was the first character in this iteration of the game that I was actually good as, and I could actually win multiplayer fights. So he's in there just purely for that. He's got some really good moves. He's nice and quick, and he looks really cool. He's a little bit better than standard Pit because he's got his across and special move is a little bit better for me. So he's number 5. Number 4, I couldn't actually decide between the two because they're so similar and I always get them mixed up. But number 4 is Marth and Ike from the Fire Emblem series. Ever since they were included in Melee, I've loved these two. Again, it's mainly just because they look so cool, because they got the swords and they're just awesome dudes. I just really, really enjoy playing as them. And when you get good as playing with these guys, I think Ike is the one that's better. So I think he's the red-caped one. He tends to be the better out of the two, but they're really, really fun fights to play as they are. Number 3, and he's kind of my favourite character to play as at the moment, is Little Mac. I've talked on the show before about how I really want a Little Mac Amiibo. I just really like Little Mac, and as a fighter, he's one of the quickest in the game. He's got some really, really good diving moves. If you press across and B, I think it's cross and B, he does like a dive across the map. If you hit it just right, you can pin your opponent down and hit them. And he also has a little KO meter that you can build up. And if you get to the top, it obviously makes you much more powerful. So he's really fun to play.
I find I die all the time using Little Mac. Like I just suicide machine, as I call him. You like you do those dive attacks, and especially on some of the smaller maps, you just fly off the edge of the screen. I guess because
a lot of people have said that to me. Because I've talked to some guys at work about that, and they've said like Little Mac, they just die with them all the time. But it's maybe because I played with them quite a lot because I just like the character.
Yeah, you get used to the distance, don't you, of the dive, and then you kind of time that right. But as you say, like if you do manage to time that right, it's awesome. And I agree that KO meter is a really cool little addition as well. Yeah,
it's really nice. That is. I mean, for the same reason, I never use Sonic because if I do one of his attacks, I just always fly off the edge. So I just don't use the guy. Number 2 is the Mii Sword Fighter. He's who I've got my version of Mii set to in the game, and he's really, really fun to use. I kind of have an affinity with like the sword fighting characters. I just enjoy playing as those. I really like Link. He only just missed the top 5 for me, but those sword fighting guys are really fun. And I think the Mii is probably the best sword fighter in the game, just purely because of the special moves he's got.
Yeah, I do the same. Mine's set to sword fighting as well.
The only one, to be fair, of the Mii's that I don't really like too much is the Gunner. I don't think he's very good. I don't like playing as Mega Man for the same reason. I don't like any of his attacks. I don't like playing as a ranged character in that game. But yeah, the Mii sword fight is awesome. And number 1, my favourite character in the Smash Bros series is Zero Suit Samus. She's just awesome. I really love the fact that they decided to separate Zero Suit Samus and normal Samus apart and give her sort of her own moveset and identity. I think she's the quickest character in the game, or if she's like one of like top 2 maybe.
Her and Sheik, I think, yeah, probably.
Yeah, but some of her moves. The best thing about her is that you can just keep on juggling people in the air. If you play like against some lower level AI or someone who doesn't perhaps know what they're doing too much on Smash Bros, you can literally just juggle them in the air until you're ready to clear them off the stage. So she's absolutely awesome to play with. I really want to get her Amiibo when it comes out as well. So there you go, that's my top 5. Anything you would have changed on the top 5 list?
Just trying to think like who I use the most. 2 I use the most that aren't on your list. Link, as you said, I think you just missed out on your top 5. I definitely would put Link as either my number 1 or my number 2, and the other person that would be the other 1 or number 2 is probably Kirby. I like using Kirby.
So I've never spent much time with using Kirby. For some reason, I don't play too much, apart from Mario, I don't play too much with the cartoony characters, but...
yeah, what's good about Kirby is that, especially if you play online, I don't play a lot online, but if you do play online, The benefit, obviously, of having Kirby is that you don't have to kind of compensate for who you're playing against. So, for example, if you're Little Mac and then you go up against two people that are, for whatever reason, are really strong against Little Mac, you're kind of done for. But obviously with Kirby, you can just suck them up and take their abilities. So that's what I like about using it, is he's so adaptable, and I like to see what he comes out like when he sucks people up. It looks pretty cool.
He's got a really good hammer attack, a smash attack as well, hasn't he? It's like a hammer, and that's really powerful.
Yeah. But apart from those two, weirdly I quite like Rob, so Rob would probably be in my top 5 as well. But yeah, I think I'd agree with you, bottom 5. I don't like Donkey Kong either. I don't like the big kind of slow characters.
Yeah, I really don't like Donkey Kong. I don't mind Bowser as much, but he's only got one good move.
That spinny shell thing's quite good, but yeah, apart from that, it's rubbish. Charizard, I don't like Charizard. A lot of people seem to like Charizard, but I find him a bit slow, a bit big.
Yeah, I can't get on with him, and one of his special moves gives him damage as well, which kind of just makes him a bit pointless to use. But some of the other Pokemon are really good. I think it's Lucario. He's really, really good to use.
Yeah. Greninja's pretty cool. And I forgot, as I was talking there, actually, with somebody I use probably more than Link and Kirby, he's probably Wario. I literally use him all the time. I completely forgot about that. Because he has got an awesome move, whereas it's forward and, again, forget which button, but he jumps on a motorbike and he can start riding around the track, around the map, or you can jump off it kind of like mid-flight, so you can then use it as a projectile as well. That is amazing. So yeah, actually, my number 1 for sure is Wario.
Wario, that's really weird, because I think I've completed the game with every character on Classic Mode. I think I only ever used Wario for that. And he is pretty good, to be fair, but like I say, for some reason I don't play too much with the cartoony characters. I don't know why. Maybe I should spend a bit more time playing as them.
Yeah, give it a go. Good lad.
Yeah, definitely. Well, there you go. That was the top and bottom 5 of Smash Bros. If you disagree, or you agree, or there's someone you feel like should have been in, then let us know. Just send us a tweet or Facebook or whatever. Just talk to me if you see me in the street. I don't mind. Cool. Well, we'll move on to the end of the show and questions. Okay, so yeah, end of the show. We'll start off with some listener questions that we were sent. First one is from a good friend of both of ours. We both worked with him in the past, a gent called Tom. His question is, what has been the best tech innovation that Nintendo has pioneered, be it 3D graphics, touchscreen controls on a console, motion controls, etc.? So what do you think, best tech innovation that Nintendo has pioneered?
There's loads. Like, for me, the biggest one is handheld gaming. Like, before the Game Boy, obviously they had Game & Watch and stuff, and you had like the little Tiger kind of LCD games. But from when the Game Boy released, that completely changed handheld gaming forever. So maybe that's a bit of a cop out, but that's probably the first one that comes to mind. Motion controls, definitely. That was the reason why the Wii was so popular, was that people could interact so differently, rather than just sitting down and before everyone, big fat lazy gamers aware who just sat there with their control pads. Actually now you can get up and get involved and pretend you're throwing a bowling ball and holding a tennis racket and all that kind of stuff. So that's probably equally as important. And then also as well, 3D as well. That's not to be forgotten. Nobody has done a good job with 3D. In the industry that I work in, we're thinking about TVs. Nobody's really nailed 3D from a content perspective. Same with gaming. PlayStation 3 obviously was I believe the first home console to bring in 3D gaming, and that never really did anything. They've kind of dropped that now. Whereas actually, you could probably say that Nintendo are the most successful 3D kind of outlet. I guess they've got the most content. It works well, people's perception of 3D is very gimmicky, you wouldn't use it that often, but actually of all the 3D things around, be it TVs or films, whatever, for me, gaming works particularly well with the 3DS. It's not gimmicky, and especially with the new 3DS they've made it better. So yeah, probably 3 for me. Handheld gaming is probably the biggest one. Motion controls and 3D, that's probably the 3.
Yeah, I definitely agree with all 3 of those. The only other one I would add, especially in the most recent memory, is remote gaming. I suppose you can call it remote gaming. It's, using the gamepad to play games remotely. They kind of did that first before PlayStation and Xbox came out with their remote play stuff. And it's just awesome. It means that I can play, console quality games and whilst my wife uses the television. I absolutely love it. I probably spend more time on the Wii on the gamepad than actually on the television. It's great. I used it today when my son was taking a nap on me. I couldn't reach for the TV. I could reach for the gamepad. Played a bit of Resident Evil. It was great. So that would be the only one I would add in.
Yeah, definitely. Next question comes in from Liam, and he asks, I know he's looking at getting a 2DS at the minute, is there any games that you would recommend for 2DS or 3DS? And he is, put me on the spot, I think he's 13. I could get that wrong. Sorry Liam if I got that wrong, mate, but I think that's kind of his age, so yeah, bear that in mind.
So definitely not Resident Evil Revelations. I would say if it's sort of if you're sort of coming new to the 3DS or the 2DS, one thing that springs to mind immediately is Link Between Worlds. If you want something that's going to keep you going for quite a while, absolutely awesome game. One of the best, if not the best, dedicated handheld Zelda game, I would say. Other than that, Mario 3D. Is it Mario 3D World on the 3DS?
Land, isn't it? I always get confused.
Yeah, that one as well, and Mario Kart 7. I mean, if you can get your hands on those three, then keep you going for months and months.
Yeah, Pokemon's obviously always a good one. I know we mention it a lot, but that's always a good game to go to. Smash Brothers. If you've not played Smash Brothers, it's good on the 3DS. I'm trying to think of other stuff that's not as obvious. Animal Crossing, maybe. I know it probably is quite obvious, but that's always a good one. I haven't played a lot of it. I know you've sunk half of your lifetime into that, so that's a good one to try. I mean, the thing is, there's just a lot of good games, and there's, if you ever buy a first-party Nintendo title, be it Mario or whatever, you can always guarantee that it's going to be a good game, regardless of who's on the cover or who's playing the leading role. So if you stick with a Mario or Donkey Kong game, whatever, you're always guaranteed that it's going to be good enough to purchase.
Yeah, absolutely. Last question comes from someone I work with, a good friend called Harley. He asks, in Pokemon Aurus, what's been the best thing you've gotten in Wonder Trade? And Harley is a Wonder Trade expert. He's spent literally hours and hours of his life Wonder Trading. So we're not going to have, I'm sure, anything as good that he's got. But any good Wonder Trades that you've ever got?
No, I've never been very lucky. I think it's because I haven't done it enough to give my opinion. I think the problem is as well is that Karma is going to come and kick, not Karma and my wife, but Karma is always going to come and kick me, and that's because I'll be one of those idiots that always puts a Weedle up for trade. I don't think I'm brave enough to stick somebody good in there. I think probably the best thing I got, which is a bit boring, was a Pikachu, but that was cool because at the time I was stuck with my contest Pikachu, which obviously you can't evolve into a Raichu, so I was happy that I got a Pikachu I could evolve.
Yeah, that's cool too. Yeah, to get a non-cosplay Pikachu.
Yeah, that was good. Apart from that, nothing amazing. It's something I need to do a bit more. I think I need to go back and start doing that. So thanks for the reminder. But yeah, I'd probably say Pikachu is the best I've had.
Yeah, I think with Wonder Trade, the best way of doing it, and it kind of is a bit of one of those. If you throw out a Poochyena as your first Wonder Trade, it is kind of, you're sending that to someone. But what I tend to do, and this is what Harley sort of told me he did, is do that and then keep on that Pokemon you get back. You either decide to keep it or you trade it. So if you think it's quite a cool Pokemon, but actually I want something different, then you trade that back, and then keep on doing it backwards and forwards until you get something really, really cool. I know that's what he does, and I've done that. I spent a few hours doing that. Two that come to mind for me are the set of keys, Clef Key.
Not the clogs.
No, that's Steve the Clog. Yeah, the set Clef Key. I think his name's Clef Key, but the set of keys, he was quite cool because I didn't know he existed until I got him. And I can't remember his name, and I'm sure that I will get told who it is. But the grass starter in Pokemon Aurus, I got the fully evolved version of that in a Wonder Trade that was Japanese. So that was really cool as well, because it had all like Japanese info and stuff, so I didn't know his name.
Nice.
It'd probably be those two for me.
Yeah, that's cool.
But yeah,
I need to.
Wonder Trade is cool.
Yeah, I need to do that more. It's such a cool feature that I've really underutilised. So thanks for the reminder. I'll give it a go again later.
What I tended to do when I was doing a lot of it was if I was like watching the TV or something or doing something different, I would kind of just have my DS on in the background and just sort of keep on doing Wonder Trades while I was doing other things, and then wait until I got something that I really wanted to keep.
Yeah.
But that's all our questions for this week. If you want to send us a question for our next episode, you can do so. All you've got to do is email us, nintendpals@mail.com. You can also find us on Twitter. We are @NintendPals, or you can find us on Facebook by searching NintendPals in the little search bar on Facebook. You can also go to our website, which is nintendpals.wordpress.com, and you can find the podcast itself on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, and SoundCloud. So a million ways to listen and a million ways to contact us. But anything else from yourself?
Yes. Before I forget, my definitive answer to who I'm going to fight between the horses and the ducks. I was stuck in traffic the other day, like a journey that should have took me 2 hours took me nearly 5 hours on the way back from work. So I was like, right, what am I going to think about? Oh, okay, yeah, let's think about this. I'm actually going to change my answer to the 100 duck-sized horses, purely because the more I think about it, the more awesome it would be to have duck-sized horses. And also I think as well at that size, they're easy enough just to kind of kick out of the way. I did some research when I got back after. This is how kind of sad I was into
research on duck.
Yeah, well, when I went on YouTube and typed "duck attack" into YouTube, and you should watch these. These are vicious creatures. I don't think a full size horse must be 6 foot tall, maybe even bigger, 7 foot tall. Imagine having a duck that big, and although they don't have kind of your conventional teeth, I think that would be one powerful thing. So what I'm actually hoping is I'll get these 100 duck-sized horses, and I'll kind of get what was it, horses like carrots, something generic like that. Get a load of carrots, some shredded carrot, throw it around a little bit, and befriend these horses, and like start a small horse farm where I sell them off for a huge profit. So yeah, I've changed my original answer. I'm going to go for the 100 little tiny horses instead.
Cool. Well, there you go. Aren't you glad you listened to this whole podcast? Because now you can sleep at night.
Well, I finally can. I finally got that off my chest. I slept in nearly 7 days.
Well, awesome. Thank you for joining us, everyone, this week. We'll see you next week, and that's about it from us. I'll let you do the sign off this week.
Goodbye.